Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Craft brewers love using local ingredients in their beer. In many states, it's possible to make a beer completely from homegrown sources. That is not the easiest thing to do in South Dakota. Last week, we looked at barley. This week, the focus is on hops. There are South Dakota hops growers, and more producers are taking a look at it as a possible crop. Bob Wyrick is Western Ag Development Representative with the South Dakota Department of Agriculture. He specializes in beer, wine, and distilled spirits, and he also works with Prairie Berry Winery. Wyrick says hops can be grown successfully in South Dakota.
Working with people that have been looking at hops for a number of years. Certainly, hops, again, they're nothing new to the world. It's not like anything that hasn't been done. But certainly hops in South Dakota are kind of a resurgence of maybe what used to be done years ago when a lot of the European settlers came to this area. Yes, we have actually a few hop farms in South Dakota.
Lee Anderson at Anderson Hop Farms near Sioux Falls says they recently finished their 5th year of harvest. They have supplied hops to some local brewers, but they're now hanging on to their hops for their own on-site brewery.
We grow 5 varieties on 6 acres, Cascade, Chinook, Centennial, Pearl, and the Nugget. And some of them are early maturing, mid to late maturing, so we're able to handle it all appropriately. We've got custom farming equipment, a wolf picker, we've got a 3-tiered oast, baling equipment, pelletizing equipment. So on top of doing a lot of this, we'd really like to get into consulting, custom farming, helping other people get into the hop game.
And Wyrick says there is another commercial grower in the States.
There is at least one other commercial farm near Yankton, 6th Meridian, and they are doing a fair amount of commercial hops, and I think their intent is also to dry them. There's a few folks here in the western part of the state that are looking at hops and testing them to see how it works.
Seth Cook at Wind Lakes Brewing in Brookings says growing hops is a commitment.
Hops are a multi-year commitment with infrastructure, so you have to put vines up and you have to put pillars for them to crawl on, and then only after the 2nd year do you usually get a harvest, and then only after you get the harvest, now you have to have an entire pelletization machine. Hops are premium, and it costs brewers a lot to buy hops by the pound, but it's because there's a lot that goes into the hop by the pound. I mean, this is a flower at the end of the day that we're harvesting for commercial use.
More on hops in South Dakota when Beer Untapped continues.
Hey, hoppy, beer, beer, 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 hoppy, 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 beer, beer, beer.
Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller as we talk beer and agriculture in South Dakota. This week, focusing on hops. Bob Wyrick with the South Dakota Department of Agriculture says there's no doubt that hops can be grown here.
Climate certainly works here. Hops seem to be a very hardy plant. I don't know about all the varieties that are grown out there, but certainly they're grown in some fairly inhospitable regions. Certainly some of the big crops now in the United States are grown out in Washington and Idaho, but they're growable here, that's for sure. Still extremely intensive in terms of the management and the work that you have to do with them.
Like barley, hops generally have to be processed for brewers. They can be used fresh, but only if they're used literally within hours of picking. Otherwise, they're most often dried. Some are looking now at flash freezing hops.
We have had a couple of folks here in South Dakota, Dakota Hops out here in Spearfish, who have looked at also at the freezing of hops in order to preserve their fresh flavor. And it presents some different challenges as well too. That's how to get them frozen and do they freeze the whole hop, or do they grind them, or make some type of a pellet or a puck? And the jury's still out on that one, but there's been a lot of activity been done with that particular project. So hopefully they'll commercialize that someday, and we'll see maybe some fresh frozen hops as well as too that are probably the next best thing to just that seasonal fresh hop that a few of the breweries have kind of engaged with too.
Seth Cook of Wooden Lakes Brewing says there is interest out there in the commercial growing of hops.
There's probably 4 or 5 up along the I-29 corridor here that I've personally heard of. They've stopped in to ask what to grow, and they started probably asking even 2 years ago. So they're in the next year we're going to really start seeing, I think, some product.
Finally this week, what's happening at Wooden Lakes, Seth? Hey, how about a hockey fan bus?
We've teamed up with the Blizzard, actually. The last game of the year, they play the Aberdeen Wings. This is April 8th. It's going to be a ticket that you will purchase through Wooden Lakes here, so you come down and get the ticket. What that ticket gets you, the ticket gets you a brat at the pub here. We're doing a pregame party. It's going to get you a beer, a house beer of your choice here at the pub. It's also going to get you a ride to the game on the team bus right before puck drop. That will also get you admittance to the game and a beer at the game. So you've got a beer here, a brat, a ride to the game, a beer at the game, a ride back. So everybody will come back here after the game. That whole package is for a modest $20.
And again, get your Blizzard fan bus tickets at Wooden Lakes. That's it for this week's show. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.